Snooping around on your husband's cell phone without permission could really cost you if you're a woman in Saudi Arabia, putting you at risk for flogging or even imprisonment. This type of offense is classified as a violation of privacy and could even land offenders before the court if a suit is filed against them. Now, right off the top here, Elliot, what are your thoughts on something like this?
Right. Well, I mean, again, I don't think it's in Saudi Arabia. It's not going to come as any great shock to any of our viewers, nor does it come as a great shock to me that women's rights are violated in this way. Remembering that a woman's not allowed to drive a car in Saudi Arabia. She's not allowed to open a bank account without her husband's permission. She's not allowed to walk around the streets without a chaperone. And that's just the beginnings of the extent to which she's a second-class citizen. So I don't think this is any great shock. What's shocking to me is the continued schizophrenic relationship that both the media and also politicians and business individuals and the world really has with regards to Saudi Arabia. And it's almost as though we kind of compartmentalize the two aspects of human rights versus our need for oil, our need for their economy, our need for us to be able to sell them arms. And it creates this schizophrenic paradigm whereby we kind of have to close our eyes and hold our nose when we deal with them. And that as a consequence, we never really talk about these types of issues. So, I mean, it's shocking and it's troubling. I want to hear more of the details, but it doesn't really surprise me.
Well, so one of the things that's important to note about this is that this is considered what they call a tazir offense. So it's not identified as a legal punishment, but rather it's dependent upon the damage that's been caused. So if there's no damage that's been caused, then there's no punishment that can be inflicted.
Right, carried out. So what sort of damage are we talking about here? If you're looking at your husband's phone to see whether he's getting inappropriate text, looking at your husband's phone, what other damage could there be? I'm not quite sure.
So it's at the discretion of, once again, the man and the husband to identify what type of offense he feels this is and what kind of violation
of his privacy has occurred.
Right. And so then the woman could be held accountable, as I said at the top, by being imprisoned or even by flogging. And this has been a very high-profile case for them in Saudi Arabia. Mm-hmm. There's even a special hashtag that has been assigned to this, and they've seen upwards of an estimated 35,000 tweets. And the Arabic translation on the hashtag that they're using is hashtag flogging of a woman checking her husband's phone.
Right.
So, I mean, it's an ongoing issue there, but then on the flip side, women are constantly being held accountable, but some of the other discussion that's come up is regarding men. And so, questions about what about men? What about the men who beat their wives? What about the men who don't give their wives rights? But once again, this is falling upon women.
Right. And the extent to which, obviously, the man can check the woman's phone and there's no issue there. The disparity, and we've talked about it extensively on the show, the human rights violations, the disparity, the fact that the women in that society are second-class citizens. The other thing I just want to remind viewers, and it gives me great enjoyment to do this, is the similarity between Sharia law under ISIS and Sharia law in Saudi Arabia in terms of, and how you see that being affected is in terms of the punishments that are handed out. So you have, for example, the punishment for theft under ISIS-controlled territories is amputation of hand. It's the same in Saudi Arabia. The penalty for adultery in Saudi Arabia is death by stoning. It's the same under ISIS-controlled territories. So there you start to see the similarities between the two. And it goes on. I'm not just cherry-picking those two particular offenses. The similarities are breathtaking, and it just indicates to me the extent to which ISIS-controlled territories and the philosophy that goes behind them finds its foundation in Wahhabism and the extreme interpretation and Sharia law. And it is this extension of it, and it is a taboo to be able to talk about it openly because we don't want to offend. We don't want to lump everybody together. We don't want to say that this is the religion. It's because and so you have to kind of tiptoe around it. But there comes a point at which, and when we see instances such as this, that it makes it very, very difficult to tiptoe around it. And as I said, the other obvious reason that people tiptoe around it is because of the strategic importance that America and the West have placed on Saudi Arabia, and the importance that for oil and as an economic partner that Saudi Arabia hold. And so as a consequence, so much is just discreetly or not so discreetly just forgotten about and shoved to one side when in those types of dealings because the dollar trumps all.
Well, once again, discriminatory laws against Saudi Arabian women prevail. We'll have to see what's next.